How did Arabs react to the persecution of their Jewish neighbors? In a rundown part of the city, living bedridden in a tiny apartment, he found an elderly Jewish man who had evaded Walter Rauff's SS troopers. An Arab neighbor had put his life on the line for Joseph Nakash.
Next to where we lived, there was an Arab. His name was Abdul Jalil. He had a steam bath, a hammam. He told me to come, if the Germans show up, to come to his place. He was kind to us.
Did you pay money?
No, nothing. Just kindness.
Until the Nazi invasion, Joseph Nakash lived in this part of Tunis.
There it is, the Zanka Nakash. So this is Nakash Street. Sabah al-khair, madam.
Good morning.
I'm looking for a house around here. The house of the Nakash family.
This is the Nakash family house.
Shukran.
Is there a hammam near here?
It's in that direction.
Hammam fi ay sharia?
Yes, on the right.
Al-yamin hina? Shukran jazila, madam.
Not at all.
We found his house. We found the hammam. Bonjour. Sabah al-khair. Est-ce que c'est le hammam?
Is this Mr. Abdul Jalil's steam bath?
Exactly.
Ah oui?
Yes.
Et vous êtes,
And you are?
Vous êtes...
I'm his son.
The son of Mr. Abdul Jalil.
Yes, the son of Mr. Abdul Jalil.
He had the right name, the right place, and the son of the proprietor of the hammam explained the sort of person his father was.
So is that your father here?
That's Hamza Abdul Jalil, the owner.
Est-ce que vous souvenez-vous de la famille Nakash?
Do you remember the Nakash family?
I've heard talk of them.
Ah oui? Oui. Pourquoi vous pensez que votre père...
Why do you think your father hid Mr. Nakash here?
He hid Mr. Nakash because Muslims and Israelites, the Jews as you call them, they were almost like brothers. Like brothers. Each had their own religion, but we used to live like brothers.
Alors, magnifique.
For us, it's an honor.
C'est un honneur.
Above all, a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim is a human being, part of humanity. There is good everywhere, in everyone. You can't say the whole world is evil, no. There are people who are kind.
In Morocco, a marble mausoleum commemorates a devout Muslim, King Mohammed V. The king defied the Vichy authorities by declaring that in his kingdom there were no Jews or Muslims, only Moroccan subjects. André Azoulay has been a senior official for the last two kings. Moroccan Jews like Serge Berdugo tell the story of a Vichy general called Noguès, who told the king there were 200,000 yellow stars for Jews to wear.
And the king said, but that's not enough. Make 20 more. But why 20? The king said, because that's exactly how many of us there are in my family. This story raced around the Jewish quarters.
In Algeria, the Vichy French met with religious opposition to their anti-Jewish laws.
The religious authorities, the imams of Algiers, jointly issued from all the mosque pulpits forbidding any believer, any Muslim believer, from accepting to serve as a custodian of confiscated Jewish property. Every Muslim in Algiers accepted the edict.
Although Tunisia was occupied by the Nazis, the newly crowned Moncef Bey did what he could to resist or delay anti-Jewish measures.
On receiving the Jewish delegation, my grandfather told them that he thought of the Jews as his own children.
Khalid Abdul Wahab was an unlikely hero who had spent time in New York in the 1930s.
At one point, he was a photography model. He learned architecture and art history and archaeology, and he was definitely a man of the world. When the Germans arrived in Mahdia, Khalid took it upon himself to wine and dine German officers, to learn German intentions, and Khalid evidently learned that one officer had his eye on a certain Jewish woman named Odette Buchris. Khalid knew that Odette Buchris' family had already been evicted from their home and had found refuge in an olive press factory or warehouse.
In the middle of the night, Khalid went to the olive press factory and told the Jewish families they had to leave straight away. Khalid drove them to his farm and hid them in the animal sheds. More than 60 years later, Edme returns to the farm. Ever since she arrived, Edme's been looking for the stables where the two families hid from the Germans.
That's it. There it is.
This is where, one night, when the men were away doing forced labor, the women and children almost came to grief. Khalid was still entertaining Germans in order to keep an eye on them. But one night, an army officer, much the worse for drink, wandered to the back of the farm, where the women and children were hiding.
He must have got lost in the garden. I don't know. He got as far as the house. And finally, to the Boukri family's bedroom.
He was threatening to kill, and at one point, it was feared that he was going to rape one of the young Jewish girls there.
So he came in because there weren't any doors. We had curtains, and he came and talked to them. He harangued them for 2 hours. For 2 hours, to those poor women. He told them, I know you're Jews, and I'm going to kill you tonight. And I'm going to start with you.
And just at a moment when it seemed as though this German was going to take this young Jewish girl, Khalid shows up.
They said it was like the coming of the Messiah. Suddenly, in the doorway, the curtain parts, and Khalid comes in. He'd been looking for him everywhere. And he led him away.
Thankfully, Khalid had removed his revolver and had found a way to ease him out of the area.
The next day, he told the family, luckily, before giving them food and drink, I disarmed them. Otherwise, there would have been a massacre that day.
If I would found that Arab Muslim man that rescued my family, I would kiss him, embrace him, hug him, thank him.
Despite eyewitnesses, Yad Vashem questions whether Khalid risked his life to protect Jews, and has for now rejected his nomination. Satloff continues to pursue new leads. But Jewish institutions around the world, like this synagogue in Washington, D.C., acknowledge Khalid's bravery.